I'm pretty much as spiritually high as I get. I just was on a Unity retreat. Unity of New York did its winter retreat, and we were in Chester, Connecticut, at a retreat house called the Guest House, and it was one of the most powerful experiences of our lifetime. I had prepared one of my handouts I gave them at the beginning of the retreat was for them to project ahead to the day after the retreat. And it's the day after the retreat and they're at home and they have to finish a sentence. And the first sentence that they have to complete is, I really didn't experience much personal growth or self-transformation on this year's winter retreat because I ... And the second half of the sheet, they had to finish the sentence, I experienced more change and more self-transformation than ever at this retreat because I ... What I've noticed about retreats is that when people tend to give their feedback about the experience, it's not generally about because I. It's either that the food was so hyped up, and although it was good, I was prepared for something gourmet extraordinary, and that wasn't the case. Or the meeting rooms, the full forum rooms were too cold for me. The temperature was not up high enough for me. And so I spent the entire time of the retreat dealing with how cold I was. Or the music wasn't really my style. I had hoped it would be more quiet, meditative music. But all of the music was so upbeat, and everyone was dancing, and that's not my type. Or I got paired with the wrong roommate. Although the rooms were nice and the beds were comfortable, the roommate that they put me with was not my cup of tea. There's always, and on the other hand, the retreat was awesome because the music was so great. The retreat was awesome because the food was excellent. The retreat was awesome because Reverend Carlos channeled so amazingly. Either way, their definition of what the retreat was and their experience of it was about something or someone outside of them. So this was their first time beginning a retreat with, this retreat didn't meet my expectations because I. Or this retreat surpassed all my expectations because I. Well, I, Carlos Wayne Anderson, as I was preparing for the retreat, I realized they always ask me to be the co-facilitator of these retreats, and yet they never make room for me to co-facilitate. For 15 years, they've invited me to co-facilitate these retreats, and when I get there, they tell me what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we would like you to do a 5-minute meditation here. And then in the afternoon session, we're going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then what we would like you to do is to do a prayer right here. You pray so awesomely. Then we're going to do this in the evening session, and they're going to do that, and the music's going to be this, and what we would like for you to do is so-and-so. Every time I have returned from a retreat for 15 years, I have had sadness in my heart that they didn't get what I have to give. I have been doing these things for 40 years, and they have never made room for me to offer what God has given me to offer. So having channeled that little thing, it didn't live up because or it did because I was preaching to me. I've never stood up. I've been too polite. I have thought, well, after all, he is the spiritual leader of the church, so he should have it be the way he wants it. I should be grateful that they offered me to be a part of it, period. So if they want me to write on the board, I'll write in my nicest cursive. If they want me to do a 5-minute meditation, doggone it, I'm going to give a 5-minute deep meditation. Whatever they want me to do. And all through these years, I have been saying, you know, I have a lot to give. I have a lot of processes. I have a lot of music. And every year, there's never been we'd like you to bring a song. This year, I had pre-sent 3 songs for the music director to learn. Because this year I said, one of my songs is going to get in there. And so I pre-sent them. I sent the sheet music. I sent the lyrics. I sent the singing of it so they can know how it went. And I was so proud of myself and happy. And when I arrived, I have to tell you, I didn't have time to get to any of your songs. I just got busy. And I went, that's okay. I brought them on CD. And as soon as the director said to me, Carlos, this is what I'm going to want you to do in the morning session, in the afternoon session, and in the evening session on day 1. And this is what I'm going to want you to do in the morning session, afternoon session, and evening session on day 2. And on day 3, this is, I went, you don't need to go on. This year I'm not here to do what you want me to do.
Yes.
This year I'm here to do what I want to do, what the Spirit leads me to do. Because quite frankly, I go deeper than you all go. And I am not going to be here staying on the surface doing fun little exercises. I'm going to take us all on a journey into the deep recesses of our being. Who we think we are, we'll have to bypass in order to get to who we really are.
Right.
We're going deep. Every single one of those people told me all throughout the retreat on every break, I have never been in a retreat where I actually was being transformed. I don't know what you have planned for this evening, but just from the morning and the afternoon, you have taken me deeper than I have ever gone.
And we get it twice a month.
I stood up.
Amen.
I stood up.
Yeah.
And you know what I thought? I thought initially, when I was driving there, what if you're standing up causes you to never be invited to come again? I went, that would be a heck of a lot better than driving home going, they just don't want what I have to give. That'll be so much more fun to get a phone call or an email saying because you insisted on doing what the Holy Spirit advised you to do, you will not be welcome to any of these events in any coming year of your lifetime. I can read that email or listen to that phone message and put my hands in the air and go, free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, I am free at last. got home from the retreat, I have not turned on my television, and I have not read a bit of news, nor have I allowed anybody to share a bit of news. Before I could get the words out of my mouth, Timothy gave me 1 minute of news. He said, no, but this is good news. And before I could stop him, he said, there is a movement of our youth who are standing up, Carlos.
Oh, yes.
It's going to make you weep with joy.
Yep.
And I went, hallelujah!
Yeah.
That's all I need to hear.
Yeah.
I'll get to it when I re-enter into the larger world. When is that going to be? I don't know. But I will know when it happens. I thought it might happen Friday. You know, I've got some programs that I love. I've got some programs that I want to check out, like every time they come on. That's my show. I've even got programs that it appears as though I'm addicted to. Like, he's addicted to this food channel.
Ah, that's a good one.
He's writing recipes 3 times a day. All he does is write them. He keeps on cooking what he cooks. I mean, from 3 years ago, I learned about 18 Japanese recipes. I haven't cooked any of them, but I do have them in my head. So I'm a TV guy, and Little House Nation? Building little houses?
Yes.
Learning to live in 300 square feet? I told Timothy yesterday, it's amazing that I'm addicted to watching people build little houses. And all while I'm watching it, I'm thinking of adding another room onto our. We're all crazy in our own way.
Amen.
This is how I'm crazy. I am crazy this way. I watch, living in 300 square feet. And I live in a 6-bedroom house, and I'm like really trying to figure out when I'm going to build another room on that boy. And I will build another room while I'm watching television. This is how crazy I am. I'm also addicted to buying pots and pans. I buy pots and pans constantly. We have more pots and pans. People think that I must be a bed and breakfast, or that I must have 50 people over on the weekends, because I'm addicted to buying pots and pans. Because there's no room to store anymore at our house, I buy pots and pans for Timothy's mother, for his brother, for my sister, for my daughter, my grandkids, my nieces, my nephews. Every time I walk into is it TJ Maxx?
No,
TJ Maxx. Every time I walk into TJ Maxx, the people at the counter in a chorus, like a heavenly chorus, they go, more pots and pans, Reverend Carlos! And I go, yeah, I'm addicted. But you know what I had to tell those women? They said, you are addicted to buying pots and pans. And I said, it is a trade up from some of the other things I have been addicted to in my life. It's a trade up. So I'm just thanking God. If I'm an addictive personality and it's got to come out some way, it's going to come out buying pots and pans. Other than some of the poison I used to buy. I used to get in my car and follow a stranger that I just met at a bar 40 miles, because at my house I've got something you're going to like. And I'm driving along following a stranger going, I'm an addict. Now all I do is drive 10 miles to Mr. Max's store
That's right.
and get me some pots and pans and get home and watch tiny houses while designing an extra room onto the downstairs living room. Because wouldn't that just be nice? I don't know how you're crazy, but I do know we're all crazy. And I have the willingness to tell you how I'm crazy. I remember years ago, back when she looked like a young girl to me when I first met Marianne Williamson. And Marianne Williamson, she said something like, she runs into people and they have sad faces and stuff, and it's like, well, what's your story? I come from a dysfunctional family.
Everybody.
And she said, as a gift to them, I go, well, honey, don't feel special. Every family's dysfunctional. Don't feel like the Lone Ranger. Oh, I come from a dysfunctional family. Oh, don't! Every family's dysfunctional.
More than others.
I don't know how your family was dysfunctional, but I know how my family was dysfunctional. I'm kind of rambling because I'm just too high on the spirit to say that. So I'm going to share with you something I ran across recently. He was talking about this power that we have, that we not only, this author, this teacher was not only saying that we have the power to create our experiences. This teacher was saying, no, yes, you create your own experiences of reality, but this teacher was saying you create reality. Not just your experience of it. That's a good starting place. So this teacher would say, knowing and understanding that you create your experience of what is just the beginning. But you've got to get to a place where you realize you create it all, every bit of it. So he used as an example, someone saying, I baked an apple pie from scratch last night. I went to the store and I got my apples and I got some of that Pillsbury ready to roll out crust, and I got my pans and I put my apples in, and then they have the syrup juice already. You can get that in the canned aisles with the vegetables and fruits. I poured that in, I put my stuff, I put it together, I put it in the oven, and in 40 minutes I've made my pie from scratch. And they're sitting next to someone who is thinking, that's not what I call making a pie from scratch.
Right.
I'll tell you how I make my pies from scratch. I go out to the yard and I pick the apples from the tree I grew, from a seed. And then I've got my grains and I millet them myself. I turn my wheat into the crust. And I add butter and so and so and so and so and so and so. And I make my own syrup for the apples. And then I do the crust that I've made on the bottom and the top. Mind you, apples that I grew from seed. And then I put it in the oven. And 40 minutes later, I take out a pie that I really did make from scratch. Unlike my friend here who thinks he did. He said, if the truth be told, the beginning step of making an apple pie from scratch is that first you have to create, I don't think he used the word create. Oh, he said first you have to invent the universe. That's the beginning step of making an apple pie from scratch. If you don't do that step, none of the other steps are possible. So he was saying to me, Reverend Carlos, Stretch your mind to remember you have invented the universe. As a child of God, none of us are living in the same universe. None of us are living in the same reality. All of us are living in the reality and the universe of our own creation. But it was an unconscious creation. It was at a subconscious level. But if we know consciously that we are doing that at a subconscious level, we have our power back. And then we can do anything and everything from scratch. I'm going to close hopefully within like 8 minutes, but I do want to share with you a testimony about the power of the mind for creation. And I'm grateful to have Timothy in the room as my witness. I have a great friend who I've had for, I'm 66. I think she's been my friend since I was in my mid-30s. Her name is Nola Garcia. She lives in Miami. I lived in Miami for 6.5 years when I was the assistant to Reverend Alan Stanley at Unity on the Bay. Nola Garcia has something, I don't know what they call it currently, but at the time, back in the early 80s, they called it multiple personality disorder. Nola Garcia had about 13 or 14 personalities, and there were about 8 who were very active. And when she went into therapy, they became more active. In their own words, they were fighting for their life. Nola, as Nola, and I went with her to all of her doctors and psychologists and therapists. Nola, when they took her blood, had type A. 2 of her personalities also had type A. The others had type B or type O. Nola's brain waves were Nola's brain waves. Every single one of the other personalities had completely different brainwave patterns. Nola has crippling arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. Nola's hands are like this. And I think sometimes she's able to get these 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but not these. And she can hold a glass or do whatever. Nola's legs are bent like this. Nola needs help getting up off of a low chair. Nola has a personality named Rebecca. Rebecca does not have arthritis. Rebecca goes to a dance school inside. They all live inside. They all vie to get out. They're all standing at the door waiting like little kids playing double dutch. They're waiting for that window to open of relaxation in Nola so they can come out. Otherwise, they're inside. She goes to dance school. Me, my son, my daughter, and Timothy were in the guest bedroom when this personality came out and told us, I'm a dancer. I said to her, how can you be a dancer if you're sharing a body with Nola? She said, Nola has rheumatoid arthritis, but a few of us inside don't, and I'm the first one coming out for you to meet. And then she said, would you like me to do a plie and go into the full splits?
Wow.
She stretched her fingers out straight. She did, is it plie, is that the correct word?
That's your legs.
Where your legs bent, and then she went into a circle and went into the full splits. Let me tell you what happened. My daughter, my son, Timothy, and myself ran out of the room scared crapless. It was so scary. It was terrifying. The miracle working power of our Creator is terrifying to us who are locked in the way it is. One of Nola's personalities was a linguist. She knew 6 or 7 different languages. Nola knew English and some Spanish. When this personality, I believe her name was Lydia, was out, she loved to go out. We would go to a French restaurant, she would speak in fluent French. We would go to a South American restaurant and she would start speaking in, what's that language in South America?
Portuguese.
She would start speaking Portuguese. She would speak in any language that she knew, of which there were 6. When I went with her to her therapy one day, there was a gentleman in there. This gentleman has in his right lung a mass. It's a tumor, and it's not malignant, and it would not be advisable for them to operate and remove it because of its location close to some. They did an x-ray on this man. The film got developed. There's that tumor the size of an orange. The therapist, the doctors say, "Is George available?" Sure, I could get him. Could you go back inside and could you ask George to come out? Sure. George, would it be okay if we x-ray you? Sure. Because there are people here who have not seen this. We just, so they saw his tumor? Yeah, okay, great. X-rayed him. Did the film. Nothing. The lungs, no mass. The power of the mind. The power of belief. Jesus didn't exaggerate. It can do anything. And I met so many people during her process who, phenomenal. I got to meet another young woman there who has blue eyes, and one of her personalities has green eyes, and one has brown eyes. And she shuts her eyes in front of your face, and she comes out of a nod with different colored eyes.
Wow.
The power of the mind. Before you make an apple pie from scratch, first you have to invent the universe. We're inventing the universe subconsciously. We're not aware of it. But if we allow our consciousness to become aware of it, we tingle with the possibilities of what is available for us to be and to demonstrate. You are not your story. You are not your biography. You are not your biology. You are spirit, ever creative, always creating what you expect and what you believe to be possible. The entire universe is a little brass lamp that you found on a beach. And when you rub it, which is get next to it, do some action to activate it, the whole Spirit of God appears and says to you, your wish is my command. That's your power. That's my power. That's why in spirit we are free. That's what God is so excited about. that one day we will remember. We will remember. We will remember what has been dismembered, which is our wholeness, our holiness. Birth is disintegration. The whole that you are, one self with God, one self with all that is, in order to be born, has to disintegrate through a process of forgetting. And we don't have to wait until we take our last breath to reintegrate. That's what Jesus means when he says, awake you who sleep, arise from the dead, and the mind of Christ, Christ's consciousness, will give you life. We can reintegrate while we're still sucking air in and pushing it out and walking around, saying whatever we choose to say, doing whatever we choose to do, being as crazy as we want to be in the way that only we are crazy. We can forget the truth. We can disclaim the truth. We can hide from the truth. But we can't change the truth. The truth is, you are one self, united with your Creator, at one with every aspect of creation. And you are limitless in power. And you are limitless in peace. That's who you are. That's who I am. That's who the people you love are. And that's who the people you hate are. That's the truth that'll set you free, even if at first it pisses you off. There's as much God in the people you detest as there is in you. That's the truth that'll set you free. I got that from Marianne Williams. She said, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off.
That's true.
Because it will proclaim that all of your excuses and alibis and invoicing to what your mama did when you were little and what your dad did or what they didn't do or how you were abused or how you were poor, how you didn't have opportunities, how you were culturally deprived, how you lived in a sexist household or a racist neighborhood. It will piss you off to find out that's all just your story. The truth will set you free. But first it'll piss you off because it will inform you that all of the power is in your hands and that the genie has said to you,